well then I think you can trust the universe. But learning to trust yourself is so hard. It literally is something that I'm consciously building back piece by piece. But this would be a big victory. I have to be at work in 28 minutes, so I don't have a lot of time to talk, and I feel compelled to speak up. Hello, universe, to all y'all, in the capacity that I'm having an extremely jumbled last 12 hours, and I intended to finish the story I still haven't finished regarding my loss of cash episode, but further loss of cash episode has occurred that is neither my fault nor something that I could have done anything about to have corrected, other than what I did that didn't correct it, meaning my current new employer misaccounted for my hours last week, and so I lost 4 hours of holiday pay, which cascades to also take 4 hours of overtime pay out of my check, which essentially means I lost about $150, $175 of pre-tax income, so call it $100 in my check, which unfortunately the margins I live on that is enough money to matter. And it's not that I don't have reasons to believe the universe needs me to be more on the up and up with my financial situation. But what's odd to me is that as I'm working to make that stable, I keep getting these direct hits at my both day-to-day operations schematic, as well as my lifelong, universal, infinite wide, infinite deep karmic pool of transformation. And I just I thought I live as a pauper intentionally because it keeps my money situation simple, and that helps me not be unbalanced. It helps me stay balanced. I don't do well with excessive money. I don't need it. I don't want it. And frankly, I think money's, I hate to go all twinkle toe conspiracy nut on you, but money is a system in which control is inherent in the system. And it's not that there isn't a need for some sort of manageable goods and services trade lubricant. I just don't know if money is the ultimate solution. And to me, money is a hollow target at all times. Enough money to survive, of course. And the way that we have devised to allow people to earn their keep, as it were, is fairly legit. I'm not saying I have all these solutions that if we just impacted society's economic structures these ways, we would be so much happier. I don't really know. But I know money's not the end game. And for me, money has always been nothing but a nuisance, if we're being honest. And if I have too much of it, it becomes a major nuisance. And so living on a pauper's wage is part of what keeps me sane. And I know that ain't true for everybody, but it is true for me. And I'm okay with that. I don't need stuff. I don't need things. I need experiences, and I have them all the time. So whatever I have to do to get by, to eat, feed, and take care of those around me that need money to get things like vaccinations, well, those things for my dog, for my cat, for myself are as far as I take the money. From there on, I'm really not into piling it on. So, because of that, I rarely have $100 to lose. And when you've done everything that you're supposed to do to ensure that you're getting the rewards for the labor that you're providing in a manner in which you can count on those rewards to help maintain that barely above the water pauper's existence, setbacks are just a cascading effect of fees and overdrafts and late charges and you name it, whatever the banks have come up with to penalize those who are without any kind of redirect of justice to pursue, left to just pay those fees to get out from whatever encumbrance they create, whether that be a checking account that is frozen or a car that is booted or whatever. It isn't always somebody who had nothing better to do but spend their welfare check on lobster and go out and buy drugs. There are plenty of people who are counting on the universe to just be fair, who get slip-slotted. They get, for whatever reason, the short end of the stick in a transaction which should have been equitable and without any kind of interruption. How hard is it to get my paycheck right? I've been there for 18 days. I don't know. And the excuses of, well, you know, if you'd have seen this yesterday, well, you know, I did see it yesterday. And when I came up to the office and spoke to the manager at 3:30, 2 hours into my shift, the earliest I possibly could have noticed this would have been 2 hours earlier. But having noticed it within that small window of time, I was still told, there's nothing we can do for you. You'll need to speak to somebody tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Okay. And I don't like the feeling of being transgressed against, because I know you don't get transgressed against in this universe for no reason. It does not happen. Transgressions working against you are something you're helping generate. And I think I know what I need, where I need to redirect my own casual interaction with the universe. I need to tighten some things up. And in some ways, I want to explain everything I'm doing. But this one, I'm going to wait until the end of March, and specifically March 29th, which has significance that I'll get into. But on March 29th, I'm going to reflect on my January 4th experiment of behavioral modification for my own personal karmic recovery. And I'm not pretending that this has any merit scientifically inside of the scientific method or anything like that. Obviously, this is subjective narrative creation of my own doing about my own story inside my own experiment with my own objectives as to what my own outcomes could look like. So if you ever think that there's bias in the universe, that is an example of horrific bias across the entire chain of events. Because in every instance, not only am I involved, but I'm involved in doing what I want to create the outcome that I need. And that's what I believe I can do. Which is why I'm not going to tell you what the test is until I have results on which to judge it. And since I'll be calling back to this specific day on March 29th, I will just let the universe know that the test I am undertaking, it will take that long to complete my story about what happened with my wallet. So, for anybody that was hoping that I might sew that one up, hey, sometime soon, yeah, there's going to be some practice of patience on your part. And and I'm not trying to be gimmicky. As a matter of fact, if I'm being dead straight honest, all of this is happening in real time. I did have some slight intent of finishing that story today, but now I realize I can't. There is more to it that needs to complete before that story actually has circled back and given me the lesson I needed to learn. And I'm here to share that I see it. I know what the lesson is. And I believe that in so doing, I'm going to change what I have demonstrated in these last 5 days. There are direct karmic bombs against me. Those need to stop. And I'm the one who can stop them. And I'm going to go stop them. And I'm going to tell you what I did to stop them and how they've stopped in retrospect, so that you know that I'm seriously doing this in a way that I think is in my control. So, on March 29th, tune in, baby, because I'll either have failed the experiment or succeeded. And if I've succeeded, you can guarantee that I will be carrying on more karmic experiments across my lifestyle, because this is an obvious one. This is one that, frankly, the universe has told me. When I said that they were laughing at me, this is what they were laughing at me about. So, we'll see. If I can't read the signals that are such direct hits that they're literally taking money out of my pocket, then I don't know what sort of signals you need to get your attention. And on that note, I do constantly find it challenging to not want to retaliate when I've been unjustly served the wrong dinner. And that's a metaphor for anyone who thinks I'm nuts about the food I get at a restaurant. It's hard to feel victimized in circumstances that were beyond your control. And victimized is so super strong here. That's probably the wrong word. It's definitely the wrong word. But we are underserved by the pains we feel when we're slighted by the universe. And I really don't know how the first painful act started. In fact, that's my question. That's what I almost feel like the universe owes us, that, to tell us why it introduced pain or sorrow, evil. And then I think to myself, well, evil doesn't exist. All action manifests the further action that manifests the further action. I mean, it's a cascade of rhythm. So evil is just the rising of currents of energy in pockets of, enablement. But even in those rogue waves of negative outcome, there is no accountability in the universe. It's coldly fair that way. And that's why I always know that these karmic hits are caused by actions that I'm doing, even if I can't figure it out. And I do think this is the one time that I have it directly figured out before I even have to so much as investigate. In other words, I think I was seeing the karmic payback that needed to change before I actually took these karmic hits. And if that's the case, then it means for the first time in a long time, I'll have had some intuition that is right, directly to my benefit, and actionable in the immediate. Because I've lost some confidence in believing that I had no deception in my own assessment of who I am. Because I think one of the things I've always done is tell the better story of myself than really exists. And I know we're even getting further into that shit, which is why I don't want to play around on Facebook or Instagram or any other look at me today, this is how I feel all the time kind of bullshit moment display of who we're not. Because I have a tendency to do that anyway. So if the format is inviting those kinds of projections, boy, do I not need that. And I don't know if a lot of you do either. I would think that's kind of an entrapment of self-design, like those Chinese finger traps. I wonder if those things are Chinese. I'll bet they're not. Well, whatever. Those braided, bristly, buy them in San Francisco, Chinatown. Stick your finger in and realize that once you pull, you're trapped. But if you push in, you can release. Yeah, I kind of feel like if I have got my intuition back, then, what can stop me? Because if you can trust yourself, well, then I think you can trust the universe. But learning to trust yourself is so hard. It literally is something that I'm consciously building back piece by piece. But this would be a big victory.